I was getting a cache and noticed that nearby the yearly sand sculpture display was upon us, and I took a quick stroll to see some of them, and while they're impressive, I can't help but feel a little thrown off by the advertising. I'm not sure if the cat urine smell is intentional, but it certainly adds to the realism. You know, someone has to remove these when it's all over, and personally I like to imagine there's a very specific type of person, a sandcastle smasher. I'll take your castle down, and you'll see now your grade when I'm done. Sorry, I have a medical condition that makes me do bad accents, but speaking of sculptures, allow me to segue to this. Grounds for Sculpture is a small but jam-packed sculpture garden featuring quite a few works from the founder Seward Johnson, who made lots of full-size painted bronze statues and poses of everyday life, and there are pieces from other artists as well, and so on and so forth. There's a Where I Go cache that highlights works placed outside the garden, where the CEO takes you on a linear journey to see these sculptures along the way, such as this one, and this giant one here. And then there's this. Don't know what the hell is that supposed to be. This is On a Yellow Box by John Newman, and as an average Joe myself, this is the type of thing that makes me think most of the art community is up their own ass. I get Eye of the Beholder, I really do, but someone tell me why this doesn't come with a large billboard with the artist's explanation for what the hell this is, because otherwise I'm just going to assume they were trying to illustrate what I imagine cyborg sperm looks like, and I've imagined it several times. Eye of the Beholder indeed. The Where I Go ends in a physical cache not far off, but as long as we're talking about the Grounds for Sculpture art pieces, take a look at this. This is called Heart's Desire. It's from a series of work by Gloria Vanderbilt called Dream Boxes, after she started having interesting dreams which related to objects that she came upon in flea markets. Well, okay then, thank you for explaining yourself, Gloria, I appreciate that, unlike that Newman guy. Now, I looked up the other dream boxes, and, we must go to different flea markets because there is a distinct lack of knockoff brand Nikes. I don't see any $4 umbrellas marked up to $14 because it's cloudy out. And Gloria, where's the freak with all the Nazi stuff that's like, this is just for historical purposes. Sorry, medical condition flare-up. But I always tell people what us geocachers already know, Journal. I always tell them, when they unmute me, geocaching is a great way to let the locals guide you to the interesting spots, and then the people ask me what the hell's wrong with me. And I get embarrassed and lie to them and tell them it's a medical condition. I was attempting to find some caches in this preserve, and it turns out Ground Zero is right at what is listed on the park map as a Gnome Village. What's the deal with silent letters? If you don't want to say the G, just take it out. Hey, impressions are not accents. I just looked up why there are silent letters, and before I got terribly bored, I found out night used to be pronounced Knicht or something, so that's a little factoid to bring up at the water cooler if you want to sound like a knobhead. Okay. It is a little Gnome Village. That somebody just left their jacket out. Kind of detracts from the whole thing. Oh, yeah. That's pretty cool. Yeah, I'm not entirely sure what happened. A lot of golf balls and broken gnome homes. That's a shame. I need to go through these pockets though. That I have to do. No, there was nothing in the pockets, and that's probably more disappointing than not finding the cache here, especially since someone found it shortly after my visit, but at least I'm better off than the gnomes here. Disturbingly, I didn't find any clues as to why the golfers came here to massacre the Gnome Village, but allow me to use the scenario to generate some relevant AI images that I can then use in the thumbnail to this video to entice strangers to think like I do. Speaking of algorithms designed to generate images based on user input, I went to the woods to find a cache. Sorry, my subscription to Segways and Transitions expired last month, but truthfully, I am near a Planet of the Apes cache nestled in these potentially tick-infested woods. 325 feet into yonder. Fortunately, I had the wherewithal to spray my pants with the old tick spray last night. Just want to make sure I protect the important spots first.
Interesting. The glove of a geocacher, perhaps? We're far enough from the trail that this isn't coincidence. Let me just... Yeah, that's a geocacher, alright. We're close. Oh, we're right there.
This cache pays respect to a very old promo called Project Ape from 2001. It was a team-up between 20th Century Fox and geocaching to advertise Tim Burton's Planet of the Apes remake at a time when remakes were not an overused and stale waste of time and money that no one asked for, but instead were a fresh kind of hell that was a waste of time and money that no one asked for. It's been almost 25 years since the promotion, and in my opinion, it looks like geocaching pulled through way better than the movie. It made geocaching look like Cher, and the movie was Sunny. I don't have a more current music comparison. Let me see here. In that relationship, geocaching is Justin Timberlake, and the movie is Joey Fatone. What I'm saying is, I'll take geocaching any day over having to watch Marky Mark and the Monkey Bunch trying to get over the hurdle of acting surprised. So, Tim Burton, if you're watching this, and I suspect you might be, please let me know why the hell you chose Marky Mark. Just message me, Timmy. Let me know what happened. I managed to get my damn dirty paws on a D4 cache. This isn't where I found it, as it is a fresh hide and I don't want to spoil the location. I just want to point out to any geocachers watching that I do sometimes go for the hard ones, said the vicar to the bishop, and not just ones that let me blab about random topics.
What an odd thing to find discarded along the roadway.
I don't know it.
This is Jack of Hearts. Oh my f***ing god. So close. No one would believe me if I got it anyway.
Yeah, no one would believe me, and I would go home and try guessing cards 100 times and experience the same disappointment I get when I have a vivid dream about finding money and hiding it somewhere, and then when I wake up, even though I know it was just a dream, I still have to check that hiding spot for cash just in case, no matter how ridiculous the dream. To put it in geocaching terms, it's like someone visiting your cache and leaving a comment saying, "Wow, I give this a favorite point," but then they don't actually leave one. It's that kind of very weird, very specific disappointment. Fortunately, nothing chases away the blues or the broken promise of a blue heart like a good bit of running water, which a cache owner was kind enough to bring us to.
Oh, well, if this ain't a good place for a little break, then I don't know what is.
Yeah, nailed it. This was during a multi-cache dedicated to a game of Gorf, an 80s arcade game, and sadly the cache no longer has what I'm assuming were Gorf things attached to it. I never played Gorf, even though it was released on the Commodore 64, and at the time I had access to every game on the Commodore 64, which isn't as impressive sounding in 2025, but I guarantee it's a rousing story, which is too large to share here, so thankfully you've been experiencing an advertisement for my non-geocaching journal channel. What a jerk, I know! Link in the description. Beef, thanks for support, is a sign I saw near some caches, and while I presume there are some words missing from this marquee, there's a part of me that wants this to be the owner's actual intent, as is that there is some man, maybe some farmer, maybe he lives with the professional sandcastle smasher somewhere, and he achieved his goals through the support of beef and is now displaying it thusly. There aren't any words missing from this marquee. Maybe literally the sign itself would fall over if it were not for a leathery piece of beef supporting the one corner. If you want to go check for yourself, it's off Old New Road. As far as names go, New Road is already pretty lazy, but the insinuation is that they made a newer New Road and therefore had to designate this new road as Old New Road because we wouldn't want to confuse anyone. Just rename it already, you lazy bastards. Speaking of lazy bastards, let's hear it for Hints Journal, for they help lazy bastards such as myself avoid time-consuming searches. I'm here to display from this town's history. They're original jail doors from somewhere in the late 1800s. Not sure what vibe they're going for, having these on display next to your town's visitor center, but the hint thankfully gives you the area to search, which prevents you from having to play an extended game of feely-uppies on this historic door, which I imagine, if it's like the other jail doors I've encountered in life, is coated in dried urine. And this one's from the 1800s, so I can really connect with the past here, running my fingers across something that has such a rich tapestry of piss history, or pistery, as it's most likely called amongst professionals. Speaking of urine, you're in luck that I'm done with that joke and I'm moving on to something much more serious. Freemasons.
Freemason indeed. You know, all the people I know that do stonework, they charge like 90 friggin' bucks an hour.
I'm at Valley Forge, which is a national park, so only virtual and earth caches here. And if you're not in the know, Valley Forge is the site of where General George Washington's army almost died. They were here for 6 months, and then they almost died, and then they moved on. History lesson over. Washington was a Freemason, and if movies like Goonies, Indiana Jones, and National Treasure taught me anything, it's that when you see all these symbols, you should start pushing or pulling or inserting things to unlock gold treasures, right? But then there are these 4 faces under this arch, and do I even really need to make the joke? Sure I do. There are 4 of them, so I need 3 more men of equal height and sexual vigor, and then on my command we all... well... Alright, let's just say that I don't think that scene will feature in National Treasure 3. Now, Nick Cage, there's a man who can do an accent.
Bubbles and squeak. Smoked eel pie. Chef. Haggis!
And I do apologize about the sex joke implication, but my mind was in the gutter already because hours earlier I was poking around in the reconstructions of the cabins Washington's troops stayed in.
What the hell you got in here? Porn lighting? I mean, not that I would know. Tight quarters. The fight for independence has never been so sexy. I'm sorry.
Yeah, because I was thinking of porn movie sets, I thought Tight Quarters would be an excellent name for sexy colonial-themed videos. Did I mention it was the 4th of July when I went there? I feel like that should be relevant to Valley Forge, but not really. America's in shambles in 2025, but, you know, it's still a good excuse for me to end with some fireworks, baby. And if I may say, in my best American accent, be safe out there, Journal. Be safer than I was here.
Jesus Christ, dude. Get out of the way.